I'm Sheila with the Grateful Goddess, and I am super excited to bring you Tamara Standard, who is opening up a new yoga studio. And I'd like to just stop right there and have you define it, because there are so many yoga studios and everyone has their own flair and their own flavor, and I'd love to hear first what yours is all about.
Okay. Yeah, I actually almost feel called to not label it a yoga studio because to me it's more of a yoga temple. And I want it to be a sanctuary where people can come and just feel held, supported, nurtured, loved. There's a lot of feminine energy as the Buddha. You know, I just want it to feel really beautiful and magical. You know, so not that other studios aren't at all, but more so the feeling is of just one of opening your heart to something and just feeling safe to do that, safe to be vulnerable, safe to really make the leaps and changes you might need to make in order to be a yogi, which is somebody who's going to be liberated. And that requires some work internally and physically, but there's a lot of mental work there. So I want to create a space where people can do that and feel safe and feel supported.
Tamara came to one of my vision board workshops in, what month was that? October?
October, yeah, I think it was. It was in the fall.
Yeah, so came to a vision board workshop in October, and that really started the process. And then in January, the beginning of January, you attended and also did the yoga for my Goddess Getaway Weekend, the Get Everything You Ever Wanted Goddess Getaway Weekend.
Which was amazing.
And so then it just kind of, like, from that point forward, really took off. So talk about the manifestation process for us, would you?
Okay, sure. No, I'd love to, because it's been a proof for me. It's really been a proof of the power of your thought. And so the vision board workshop helped me to create a visual of what the studio, or well, actually at that first workshop, that was more about what my life would look like in this next year. And but it did include a lot of images of yoga and spiritual transformation, you know, and so that's why it's hard to kind of find a visual for that because it's so unique and it's very much internal for me anyway. And but I found some, and I hung that up at home and I looked at it constantly every day before I left the house. You know, it was just so fun, even in the process of giving myself the freedom to just make it and be like, this is a valuable way to spend my time right now. Actually, this is like the highest thing I could do. Instead of thinking like, oh, we're just cutting pictures out of a magazine and what is this, but it was like, no, this is like the best use of my time, to really spend a lot of time thinking about what it is I want to create and then finding visual representatives of that, you know. So
because it's really looking at the end result, not how am I going to get there, which is going to get really complex. But just like, what do I want it to look like? And when you focus on what you want the end result to look like, all these things showed up for you quite magically.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I stopped focusing on the things that weren't going so great in my life at the time. And instead I just kept the vision of what I wanted to create. And then you asked me to, you know, lead the yoga portion of the Grateful Goddess Getaway Weekend. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I literally cut out pictures of nature and beaches and doing yoga out there and leading retreats, you know, and then that manifested, and then in that I got to build on this topic, and then I made another vision board, which was exactly just real images of the studio, of the space that I wanted to create, the sanctuary that I wanted to make for others. And I took a lot of time. I think I was the last one at the table that night, you know, just really spent a lot of time on it. And I was so inspired. Like, I remember that night it was hard to sleep because then it was like there was the image in my mind. It was just like right there. And it was like, okay. And then I have that at home hanging up. I had it in my bedroom. I move it. I'd set it in my bedroom when I woke up, and then I actually move it in the living room. So when I was eating in the morning, I was like, it was constantly in my mind. And one of my favorite colors is this color of this wall. And I had used that color a lot in the imagery. And I felt like all of a sudden things just came together. And I didn't worry about the how. I've had a lot of support from beautiful friends and family that have shown up to help do physical labor. And that process is really where it's at. And that's actually a yogic practice, you know. So it's cool that, you know, just to see it so clearly explained how you've been teaching it, you know. And then also I feel like this goes totally in line with everything I've learned from yoga. If you're doing it regularly, you're constantly having revelations and evolving.
Right.
You know what I mean? So so because the process is being done unto you, and then things are changing, and your dreams might shift, and then you start to work towards manifesting those. The language of how I describe this has changed just over the last 6 months a lot.
Right.
I mean, I've been working on the website and thinking about the words I want to use to attract the people who I feel would benefit from this environment. And for me, the word evolution portal has been really strong. I've been seeing it as just like it's a portal for your evolution. Like, I can't do anything for you. I can't do anything for anyone, but provide a space where maybe you can tap into that, and maybe give you some tools that will help you to hear that small inner voice within that maybe you weren't listening to before, that you can then follow and actually make your dreams come true.
Right.
Instead of just being at the mercy of what the world's telling you to do, or something. Just instead, like, what do I really want to do?
So true. So like, I am oftentimes like asking people not to get hung up on the timing of things, focus on the end result, and there's some things are going to take, but it's amazing how quickly things can manifest when you are open like you were. So October was the first vision board workshop, and then, like you said, beginning of January, and here we are, you're opening the studio March 1st.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, that's like really rapid pace.
Yeah.
And yet, I think it's been flowing, exciting flowing, but not like so scary that it's like too fast that you can't handle it.
No, I feel like it's been perfect, and and I've been writing gratitude every day, and that has been a great benefit. So when I feel overwhelmed, which sometimes I have, but I'll go back and just be like, okay, I'm just so grateful for how supported I feel, actually. And then when that becomes the focus of my attention, I'm no longer thinking, I'm so overwhelmed, I can't handle it. Instead, I'm just like, wow, the universe has supported me so much. American Express gave me a credit card with no interest for 18 months. So I have Uncle American Express who's actually supporting this. Instead of thinking to myself, like, oh, I have no money to get this, or, which would have been my old stories, oh, my family, didn't give me all this money to start this, or no, it's like it doesn't, the universe is making it happen. Right. All I had to do was just get really clear and believe it was possible, which I've been thinking about that a lot in terms of how helpful it is to have community that believes that it's possible, whatever it is you dream, and then again, I want to incorporate that in this space, because I find that when you're around people that don't believe it's possible, it can be a little challenging, but as I keep focusing on it myself, I've attracted people that believe it's possible for me too, more and more, and then I'm helping them make their dreams come true also, it's just been this upward spiral.
Yes, it's that saying that the rising tide rises all ships, and when we come from a place of community and collaboration, it's not, it's also, as we talk about, abundance is everywhere, and so it's not as though it's one more yoga studio. It's like there's enough for everyone, because there is.
Yeah.
And we come from that abundant mindset, and that's so important.
And then you can be more authentically yourself, because what I realized, there's been a culture, sometimes I've noticed, of fear amongst business owners in the yoga world, and maybe obviously in other businesses too, where it's like, oh no, another studio, it's going to take away my business. And I thought, oh, that's interesting, because I feel like what I offer is so different. There's no competition, actually, because it's not even the same, and actually I celebrate what you have to offer, and I've already been, I mentioned other studios. Yoga Oasis is right down the street. I will totally recommend people to go there. Mindful Yoga, Yoga Vida, there's all sorts of studios around here that I'll be like, hey, if you're looking for Bikram class, Yoga Vida's right up the road. It's great. You should go check it out, but here's what we have to offer, and there really is no competition. And I think that was something I had struggled with in my past that made it hard for me to step out on my own. There's one special thing I'd really like to share.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we have a variety of yoga classes, obviously, from introduction to personal sadhana, which involves candle gazing and a lot of the practices in yoga that you don't normally do in a yoga class, which is taught by James. And I have an amazing group of people that will be teaching here, and Amy Vaughn is one, and she wrote a book called Yoga to Ease Anxiety, and she's really good at helping people who have dealt with anxiety or just issues with their body image. She also teaches yoga for everybody, and so we'll have that class here. It's really gentle. And I'm going to be teaching Kundalini Yoga as well as Mystic Yoga, which is a combination of the styles I've studied in my life and my own insight that I've gained from them. And so it's a pretty eclectic class and very intuitively based. And then we're also going to have a special thing on Sundays called the Shanti Movement. And this is a free gathering that is going to be focused on basically overcoming obstacles and overcoming ignorance that you might have in your own mind about anything. So we're going to have presenters come and do a little talk, and then you can ask them questions. And it could be about a topic that might be uncomfortable. And the idea is to build peace, because Shanti means peace in Sanskrit. And part of being a yogi is really learning about the world that you live in. Because if you want to serve the world, but you don't know about the world, or you're scared of a certain type of person because you're ignorant about them,
Right.
then you can't really serve them. So, for example, our first speaker is a man who's going to talk about Islam and basically this feeling that we have about Muslims in the United States, which is based on good reason, but there's also other reasons behind it all, and he's going to explain it in such a way that you feel really safe to ask him any questions. You could be like, okay, I don't know, do they really hate all Americans or whatever? And he'll explain and talk about it. He was raised in Morocco, Muslim. He's actually Buddhist now, but he's really comfortable engaging that way. And then I have a transgender woman coming to talk about her experience of becoming a woman, going through the whole process. And you can ask any question like, well, should I call you he or she? I don't know, because I've had people ask me like, I don't know. And then you start to develop an aversion because you don't know, and then you kind of like, well, I don't know this person, and then in your mind that plants a small seed in your mind, which then has a little subtle wall. Maybe that you don't even dislike them, but you just don't understand.
Right.
So my goal with this weekly thing, it'll be Sunday nights at 5:30 to 7, is to create community, but also to help us overcome any barriers we have to basically loving each other and transcending all the labels and the identifications of class, race, nation. Because we're stepping into a new world now, and I know everybody knows this, but it's just so obvious that we need to learn how to transcend those enough that we can identify all together as one, instead of having all these little bickering wars about things that, when we all are actually seeking happiness and to avoid pain. A lot of the revolutionary yogis that brought yoga to the West, they did radical things like that.
Exactly.
Swami Vishnudevananda, who brought Shivananda yoga to the West, he used to fly planes over the Berlin Wall and the Great Wall of China and drop peace bombs. He learned how to fly a plane. This is a little Indian man, came to the United States, learned how to fly a plane. Peter Sellers helped him get the plane or something. He had some fanfare to help support him.
Yeah.
But he would fly over and drop these little peace bombs, and inside of them were little capsules, and they would talk about yoga, and there were little notes about yoga. And it's like, so I just feel like, the time is to really step up and embody your yoga in all areas of your life,
And what I love about that is that, sometimes when you hear stories like that, it's like, oh, well, he had the help of Peter Sellers, and so in your story, you have been recognizing all the support you are getting and doing your gratitude practice to make sure that you're recognizing all that has shown up as support, because that down the road will be your story in terms of these, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the same story that he had. He didn't know when he started off on that path that was how big of an impact he was going to have in the world.
Yeah.
And that's what a kind of impact you're having.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you too.